Stay on point like a javelin and sharper than a Ginsu knife.
Welcome back to Sell or Fail, where if you don't sell, you fail. Sell or Fail is a podcast that tackles selling from both a corporate and entrepreneur point of view. College educated or not, A type or B, sales is the great equalizer. And we are your hosts, Williams Brack, and
Samuel Nelson.
our main topic today is selling events and sponsorships, and we have Miss Cynthia Daniels of Cynthia Daniels and Company. And you talk about her resume of events and sponsorships. We're talking about Memphis Black Restaurant Week. We're talking about the Soul Food Truck Festival, the Party Life, Black Bridal Expo, Black Christmas Expo, Elixir, and a great event, which is the Top 40 Under 40. Sam, when did you first hear or meet Cynthia?
I heard of the myth, the legend, the living legend, Cynthia Daniels, about 2 years ago. About a year she in the game because I thought she'd been doing this for a while, and I learned that she's only been doing like 3-4 years. Am I not wrong? And she moved here from Atlanta, and she just took over the game. She came in with a plan, stuck to the plan, and ruled the land. I love it. I love her story. I've been to all her events. They are off the chain, beautiful, always well organized, well executed, and everybody looking for them. They became Memphis staple events.
Oh, without question. And a lot of the events are super classy and always well done.
Smooth.
And I got to say, I do host the Grind Set podcast with Cynthia, and that's such a fantastic podcast that she and I do together. I got to take the time to toot my own horn. But this is a show about selling. And one, with Cynthia's events, you have people like me who are the consumers who are attending the events, and we pay to attend those. But on the back end as well, there are people, sponsors, corporations and organizations that also want to get their brand recognition out, and they choose to sponsor events for Cynthia Daniels.
Yes.
And so when we come back after the break, we're going to bring Cynthia in, and we're going to talk about her sales philosophy, her business, and how she's getting companies and organizations, how she's selling them to be able to support her events.
This is Sell or Fail. We'll be right back at you.
Welcome back to another episode of A View from the Chair. We're going to cover a lot on today's show. We'll have today Katie Martin, Communications Manager with Plains All-American Pipeline.
And I just want to very clearly say we are not taking anyone's home. We are not causing anyone to move. We are simply looking for a small piece of property to purchase the rights to use.
I hope you had a better understanding of the Byhalia Connection Pipeline Project and the benefits to not just your community, but the city of Memphis.
Kudzukian. Check out all your Kudzukian favorites now. Download the Kudzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to Sell or Fail podcast. We have the myth, the legend, the world-renowned Cynthia Daniels of Cynthia Daniels and Company.
Facts.
Cynthia, you say facts? Oh, yeah. Cynthia, can you tell us a little bit more about your story, how you got to Memphis? I know you came here from Atlanta, and you came to Memphis with a plan, and now you're ruling the land. Tell us about it.
Listen, I don't know how much time you have. If you want the whole story or you want the modified version.
I got my tea ready. I'm finna sip and listen.
You know what's crazy, guys? As much as people know me now and I do these over-the-top events, when I moved to Memphis, it was 2009. Mm-hmm. And I moved here because I was unemployed in Atlanta for about a year. I had 2 degrees, right? 2 degrees that I was laid off, and I just couldn't find anything in 2009 after the recession. So, it just got to a point where I needed a fresh start. I was thinking about what city could I move to where I knew someone and I could crash on the couch, crash in the extra room. And I used to work at Best Buy in college. So I had a friend, name was Alicia. And I just gave her a call, just literally out the blue. I'm going through my options. I didn't want to go back to Alabama. That's where I went to college, Alabama and University in Huntsville. That's more of an engineering town. I had an HR background. So I said, Memphis has FedEx, they have AutoZone, International Paper. Surely I can find a corporate job in HR and move
Right.
into Memphis. So I moved here in 2009. The plan was to stay for 2 years to get a job in HR. Got a job within 2 weeks. So I knew that I made the right choice. Like this was going to be a great temporary place for me, and lived in Whitehaven probably the
Okay.
first year or so.
Black Haven Zone. I see
Black
you.
Haven, right?
Yeah.
What's so funny? I grew up listening to Tila and 8 Ball and MJG. So when I
BHG.
finally heard Black Haven and Whitehaven, I said, "Oh, that's what they meant." You
And a little Twinkle Town over there too.
it all made sense. One day I was on Park Avenue and I said, "Oh, that's what rolling down Park Avenue,
Avenue.
bumping Maze." Oh, like mind blown, mind
I
blown. So
feel you.
anyway, so that's how I got to Memphis. It was purely out of a need to find a city that I could make a temporary home in.
Yeah.
Okay. But you got here, you got comfortable. So how did you get into the events though? How did you
Ooh, okay. So I was working at a warehouse. Even though I wanted the more illustrious corporate jobs, I found a job at a warehouse company, and I was working in South Haven. So working in a warehouse was just a very different culture for me. It
Yeah.
was
Welcome to Memphis. It's the warehouse on every corner and chicken wings.
Listen, because in Atlanta we have Fulton Industrial. So Fulton Industrial is pretty much where all of the warehouses, distribution centers are. But Memphis, I mean, that's the make of the land, right? And in HR, I dealt with conflict resolution, recruiting people, getting managers ready for the next level, and I found myself dealing with calls at 5 in the morning because two associates got into an argument.
Some petty.
Petty, that's the word. Petty stuff. And it just got to a point where it was a very toxic work environment, but I was very strong-willed. I said, I'm going to stick it out. I'm not leaving Memphis. I'm not leaving this job. So I started volunteering. I've discovered the Memphis Flyer. I love Kroger, and one day I just happened to pick it up. It looked very reminiscent of Creative Loafing, what I used to read back home.
Yeah.
And I just saw all these really cool events. I saw volunteer opportunities. And so every Saturday for maybe 2.5, 3 years, I was just volunteering. I didn't know I was networking. I didn't know I was, creating relationships. I purely wanted to get out the house, meet new people, and give back. In doing that, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me on Saturday mornings when I was volunteering.
So you were
And I
doing
said,
research without knowing you were doing research.
who knew, right?
Right.
I didn't know.
Great salesman.
Right. So I literally said, where are the Black professionals in Memphis? I know they exist. I see it. I see one every month, at least one, somebody in a suit. Because again, I'm in Whitehaven. I'm going to South Haven. So there is no downtown. There's no midtown. I don't know about those places, right? And I literally one day Googled Black professionals in Memphis, and Memphis Urban League Young Professionals.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, okay, Urban League Young Professionals. I looked it up in Atlanta, but I never had time to go check them out. So I said, okay, Memphis has a chapter. I went to a meeting, fell in love. I would say it was maybe about 20 people at the time. This was, oh my God, this was on Cleveland when there was nothing but the Urban League and the church across the street. It was a little sketchy, but I was about that. I was about the life.
Welcome to Memphis.
Cut it out. Cut it out.
Area
Cut
on
it
the
out.
street.
Cut it out.
So this is like 2011-ish, 2012. So no real estate, no developments over there. But every month we had general body meetings. I became that super volunteer. I joined everybody's committee. And because I was just interested in helping, I was just taking on different roles and responsibilities. And I found myself really enjoying the event components. Every time we had an event, anything that needed to be done, I was the person that would say, hey, let me go scout out a venue. Let me go, help with the deposits, or, just any kind of entry level thing. I still didn't know I liked events, but I just enjoyed the components of it at the time. And I would say 2013, because I was a super volunteer, ended up becoming the president of the organization.
When you become progress right here on
Progress,
Cellar. Yeah.
when you become president, you get to go to the National Urban League Conference. Now, this is where it gets interesting, guys, as I think
Mm.
back to this. So 2013 January is when my term started, but I was voted in summer 2012. I get to go to the National Urban League Conference in New Orleans. The first night, I'm in the room with President Obama. I said, "Oh Lord, I have arrived.
Ain't no good God.
This is the place I'm supposed to be." So of course, I'm in the very top. I'm a peon, but I'm in the room. I am
Right.
in the room with the president. So it was just an incredible experience. I'm meeting leaders from across the country, and one of the speakers during the conference name was Aaron Arnold. Aaron Arnold was living in Atlanta. He interned for Diddy. Had a really incredible story. He was working on Wall Street, quit his job because he wasn't happy. He worked for Diddy for free as an intern, and then it just kind of changed his career. So I felt connected to him. Again, entrepreneurship was not on my radar, but I just loved his story. So connected with him. And by the time I left New Orleans, I thought, we need something like this in Memphis. We need to have an urban league conference. I'm going to create one. Now, I never planned a conference. I never raised money. If I went to a venue, it was purely because somebody on the board said, "Hey, Cynthia, go drop off this check to such and such a venue." I never really sought one out to that extent. It was kind of like, go look at A, B, and C venue, and you tell us which one you like. But to just say, I'm going to do a conference at a random venue, none of that was anything on my radar. But I felt it in my gut, like I have to do this. So when I come back, I shared that with
Mhm.
the board. Like that was the thing I wanted to do in January. Um, Went to the Hilton Hotel purely because it was the prettiest hotel. I mean, again, just simple aesthetics that were exciting to me. Downtown, I think we've all been to downtown. We've been to the Cook Convention Center. We've been to the Sheraton. I don't like paying for parking. I like easy.
I
When
hate
you
it.
pull up at the Hilton, you pull up at the Hilton. It's free parking. You walk in. Everything is included. It's inclusive. Excuse me. So
Mhm.
meeting with the Hilton sales team, kind of giving the vision to the board. Some people were resistant, some people saw the vision. And then it came to the money. And I guess that's why we're here today, right?
Hell
Conferences
yeah.
That's
don't
why we here
it
today.
don't
Hey,
happen for free.
if it don't make money, it don't make sense.
That's right. And I didn't realize the cost that came with the hotel,
Mm.
you know. But I knew the vision of, you created, they will come.
Yes.
I didn't want to be in a hole in the wall hookup type of place, and we're trying to attract, young professionals from other cities to come here. It was something lavish about that Hilton that spoke to me.
If you look like
So
money, they'll bring it to you. I
that's
promise.
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I met with their sales director. It was an absolutely incredible conversation. She saw the will and the determination that I had. And one thing I didn't mention, guys, I did forget this. 2012 was when, I can't remember which board member kind of stepped down. They had a lot on their plate, but it was up to me to go and look at different venues to host those general body meetings.
Yep.
And so the Hilton was on my radar. I remember calling, and I talked to Beverly Daly. Beverly Daly said, "We would love to have you if you ever need a meeting." So it was kind of like over the phone, cold calling, right? That I
Mm.
was able to establish some type of relationship. So when I met her in person, she was like, "Okay, you're that young lady that reached out to me," that kind of thing.
Right.
So when I saw the invoice, I said, "Wow, that's a whole lot of money that we're going to have to spend at this hotel," but I know it's going to work. Um, it was just a very interesting journey, between money for the hotel. Then we decided to also do mixology with my social and cultural chair, Jamal Whitlow, which I know you all both know Jamal. Jamal had a party promoter background, so he was bringing that to the table while I was
Yeah.
kind of spearheading the conference.
Uh,
So
Privilege.
privilege, there you go. So
Yeah.
that was just really interesting in the beginning to know that when you have a vision, you stick to it. One other thing with Aaron Arnold. So back to him, I hit him up on Facebook. I inboxed him, "Hey Aaron, we're gonna do a conference." Again, had not raised any money, guys. I only knew what it was gonna cost. And in talking to him via Facebook, then we did a phone call. And mind you, I'm also planning this on my full-time job.
Wow.
I'm ducking and dodging in the hallways, in the conference room, sneaking around planning this conference. And Aaron tells me, "Oh yeah, I remember you. I love your story. $5,000. I'll come down to Memphis and be your speaker." And I'm like, "I know we ain't got no $5,000. I know that's kind of steep, but I really want him." It was just a compelled vision that I had. I talked to him again. I said, "Hey, this is our first time. I'm really trying to lean on we just some, poor little black kids trying to make a dream happen." Kind of gave him
Hey,
that speech. He says, "Okay, I'll do it for 1,500.
Whoa.
I can drive." Big difference, right? Which
right.
he said, "I can drive down to Memphis. I got some frat brothers there, no problem. Don't even worry about the hotel, all of that." So then I'm like, "We don't have 1,500 either," but I say, "Yes, we'll get you that. We'll get you
Right.
that." So I go back to the board. I just plead my case. Like, we really have to have Aaron. He only wants a deposit, so the board felt comfortable enough after voting to bring Aaron in. With the Hilton, they pretty much just said, you have to pay within 2 weeks of doing your conference, and so I knew we were going to have to hustle tickets. We are going to have to really push it out, invite other chapters. And we actually had 11 other chapter presidents to come. That was
Wow.
historical. Nobody had ever invited somebody from another city.
I told you a living legend.
Which,
Historical event.
This is
well, go ahead.
I said, Cynthia, you've done a fantastic job of kind of laying the groundwork, right? So
Okay,
you're in
okay.
HR,
Yes.
and your volunteer experience is where you cut your teeth and started getting experience.
Right.
So in the next segment of Sell or Fail, we're gonna get into mechanics, right? You talked about the hotel, you talked about the events. Now we want to get insight into what the actual meetings are like with potential sponsors. You've been listening to Sell or Fail, and we'll be right back after the break.
It has been a weird 2 weeks.
At the same time, NBC tried to do a Ferris Bueller TV show. That sucker was whack, man.
Oh, but understand, if you got some shit, it's gonna stir it up.
It's gonna dig your shit up.
We are just kind of all over the place.
It's an emotional time.
It really is. It really is. When I went to the Mississippi Gun Show, I was far from the first black person and far from the last. We've had this conversation. Dark Souls is the only video game I've ever walked away from.
You're listening to the Kudzukian Network, where Black Nerd Power.
Kudzukian. Check out all your Kudzukian favorites now. Download the Kudzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to Sell or Fail. We're with the great and amazing Cynthia Daniels, CEO of Cynthia Daniels and Company. And so now we're about to get into the mechanics of how you actually sell and who you actually sell to. So what exactly is a sponsor anyway?
So a sponsor pretty much is a corporation or a nonprofit that wants to donate money to your cause. In so many words, it can be a tax write-off for some people. It can be money they put aside in the budget, just in knowing that they want to be able to sponsor so many events per year. I mean, it's kind of one and the same that corporations know to do that. But with nonprofits, typically, if your mission is aligned with what they're doing, then they're able to donate as well as a sponsor.
And what title does a sponsor typically have in, I guess, a corporation? Do they have a sponsorship manager, or does it just depends?
Sometimes it's a community engagement person. That title seems to correlate because you're talking about an event in the community. So that's kind of the hat people would typically wear. But some companies, it's usually even the HR person. The HR person has their hand in budgets. So that's also kind of a good point of contact to start with in companies.
Now, do you do that email method or do you call? So, because we want to know on Sell or Fail, do you do the cold call? Do you inbox them, or do you so happen to bump into them somewhere?
That's a great question. So I'll take you through an evolution, if you don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So when I first started, it purely came from relationships I built through volunteering. I was meeting a lot of executive directors, CEOs. They're out on Saturdays with their team. So that's usually the best time to meet with them, when they're, very relaxed. Their cigars aren't up. They're just out there having a good time. So you definitely want to be able to put yourself in those places. Sometimes at a networking event, they're just there to show their faces. They're counting down their minutes. They're not really trying to get engaged. But when you're, I used to do Habitat for Humanity. When you're building a house with somebody, you get to have a real conversation and you exchange cards and you remember each other. So when you're doing most sales, it's all about relationships. I've done cold calling, I've done cold emailing. Calls don't work. I'll be very honest. If I've called people and I'm like, hey, I'm Cynthia Daniels trying to get money for such and such, they don't care. They need to still have a face with it. They need to have a visual. So I found that emails are very effective, but that email needs to have a very thought out with levels to it. If you don't know this person at all, you gotta go to measure. You gotta give them the whole 9 yards. You need to give them a sponsorship deck. You need to give them maybe a letter of recommendation, somebody that they know. You want to let them know that you're very intentional about what you're doing, and this is not your first time doing something.
So ice cream, cake, milk, and cookies.
All of that.
All
you
that.
gotta,
Okay.
it's like shooting your big shot, right? Like you only get one chance to do it. They're only going to open this email once, and the subject line of the email is very important. I've learned over the years, don't say, for instance, we're going to say sale or fail sponsorship package. The word sponsor is already going to make me not open your email. It's just going to sit there, or I would delete it. But you can say something like, here's an opportunity you don't want to miss.
I don't want to miss this opportunity already. What's next, Cynthia?
Something like, we've been told that you're the most important person in your company. Something that's going to catch somebody's attention. Like, wait, who told them?
I see it's important.
They open it, and they open it. So you want to have that kind of information. Sponsorship deck. You want to have a letter of recommendation, your resume, just something to show that you're an actual company. My very favorite, though, is a warm lead. Warm leads are the best. I really don't call and email like I used to. I think about who do I know that works at the company that's in my immediate circle that can open the door and get me in front of the CEO, the HR person, the community engagement person, because that's really the best salesman for you. The person
Back
that's
to that
already
relationship thing.
It's all about relationships.
Yeah.
Well, what happens if the only person you know is an admin assistant that's not even close to anywhere near HR?
That's a great question. It's happened multiple times. I still try to get as much intel as I can on the person. So let's say it's this admin in a completely different department. I'll ask, okay, so who is the person that I need to talk to? Where do they typically like to go to lunch? Do they drink coffee? I've sent people randomly a Starbucks gift card. I'll mail it to them. Here's some coffee. Hope you have a great day. I
like that. I like that.
A $20 gift card from Starbucks and a stamp can go a very long way. I've gotten people to call me back from that. If they like sweets, I'll have some cupcakes delivered.
Oh, so you're using the mail system, not just email. You're using the mail system too.
I like that though.
It's a personal touch. It makes you more memorable, but it also depends on how big the check you're trying to get. So it's levels to it. So email, if you're talking $5,000 or less, an email, $5,000 to $10,000, a warm lead should get you in. But you're talking more than $10,000. You need to be memorable. You got to stand out. So
you hitting up Philip Ashley and say, "Hey, we're gonna need to send them some chocolate because we need $100,000 out there."
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, if I'm talking to event planners or whoever else is looking for sales right now, you also want to just invite people to what you're doing. My gala tickets for top 40 under 40. If it's very close to the event date, you're going to spend $150. But I do try to start out with lower levels. But there have been times when I just invite people. I just need you to see what I'm doing. And 9 times out of 10, that's my seller right there. Because I am inviting them into my world. And most people are so used to having to pay to play. So I found that, they come to my event. Then we meet for lunch. We talk about how great the event was. They're all warm and fuzzy. Oh my God, you're doing so great. That's wonderful. You know what else I need? I would love to, have your company be part of this, because I know you have a diversity initiative. I know you focus on this, and this. So, it's a lot of different balls, I guess, I'm juggling in the air. But if I think back to the transition and the evolution, it started with cold calls, then the emails, and then the warm leads.
I mean, that's what we
LinkedIn,
need to hear.
On
yeah,
Seller Field, we need to hear all
hear
this
it
stuff.
All
all.
of that,
It's
all
it's
parts
the
of that.
evolution, yeah. LinkedIn, it's kind of touch and go. Sometimes LinkedIn works. I'll be honest, I hadn't used LinkedIn for probably the last 3 years, and I just
Mm.
started getting back on. So I think it can be beneficial. That way, it also allows you to see who are some middlemen that could know this person, who are some mutual friends and acquaintances.
Hmm.
So it could help, but sometimes CEOs and executive directors, they don't necessarily check their LinkedIn accounts like that. It's just kind of for show, as
Right.
them being part of the company. But
Mhm.
it still doesn't hurt to try it.
So
Now,
Seller Fail covers all that, and that's what I really wanted to talk about. So you went from email, well, you hate cold calls, I hate cold calls, and then you
Yeah,
went from emails to inboxes to the relationship, and then I'm gonna
right.
show you, but then social media, and that's what I wanted to ask you: do social media get you the most people, or what?
So social media, if you're trying to get sponsorships from small business owners, that's
Hmm.
absolutely the platform where you're going to find them.
mhm.
Okay.
With small business owners, everybody has to have some type of social media presence. And I've constantly put out there, and I put numbers out. Like, hey, if you're trying to get your brand in front of, let's say for Elixir, 2,500 people, this would be a very affordable sponsorship opportunity for you. And usually, because the event has a presence on itself, people already know what Elixir is. But
Hmm.
the first year I did it, I had to physically go to those small businesses to really introduce myself,
Mm.
if that helps.
Mm.
Now, here's a question. So once you send the email or you get a warm lead and the meeting's set now, they say, okay, Cynthia, I'll see
Yes.
you. Great email. I open
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So what's the pitch in that meeting, and
Right.
what information do sponsors need from you in order to make a decision?
Sure. So I'll be very transparent, and for people that don't know my brand really is for the African American young professional. At the end of the day, I've created a space where we can have a great time, whether it be a gala, a festival, concert, things of that nature. So diversity and inclusion is a big initiative. That's been a big initiative in our country. I would say the last 10 years, that they've actually created roles around diversity and inclusion. I know just from my HR hat, you have to allocate so many dollars towards diversity and inclusion. You have to create a space for these employees of said corporation to be in a space where they can be part of diversity and inclusion. So that's really the thing that I lean on.
Mm.
And my conversation always starts with, obviously the fluff, right? Like,
Yeah.
how's your day going? I got to feel your mood first. If you're in a bad mood, I
Right.
have to get you to a better mood, right? Because I'm coming in here asking for money, so I just gotta
Hmm.
gotta chum it up, that kind of thing. Or did you enjoy those cupcakes? Did you get that coffee? That something, right? So then it just really goes into a conversation. I always like to know about new hires. And again, the HR hat turnover is very expensive. Every
Mm.
CEO, every money person knows about the turnover in the company. So I like to find out, what that turnover looks like. And 9 times out of 10, we do not stay in Memphis. They
Mm.
they they recruit and they wine and dine all of these African American professionals, and then they get them here, and then they just kind of leave them deserted. There's no networking experience for them. There's really no welcome group. So I kind of lean on that. I ask the right questions to help me figure out. Okay, great, you're doing a great job of recruiting minority individuals, but it sounds like they're not staying in your company. They're not engaged. It's not the company; it's the city of Memphis. Well, what kind
Mm.
of outlets are you providing for them? Are you telling them about all these great things that are happening in Memphis? And then boom, let me tell you about what I'm doing
Woo!
for Cynthia Daniels and Company.
I'm
Oh,
in.
So I
drop the
I
dope.
present it as I'm giving them a solution, and it typically works. Especially now that I have visual. Year one, which I'll backtrack to year one, but now that I have visuals, I have videos, I have testimonies. It's an easy sell, but you just got to figure out, why should somebody give you money? Don't just go in there saying, okay, I'm doing this event and I need a check. they have to you gotta reel them in. You have to buy into your brand and what you're doing. And again, my thing is I'm creating a solution for you. So that's how you sell.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, are you past numbers at this point? Like I can bring this many young professionals to the event and exposure number. Do you still have to show those number, or is that just year one stuff?
It's year one stuff. It's a lot of hypotheticals, it's a lot of daydreaming, and that can be hard. But I will say this, guys. So year one, I got to go back to volunteering. Volunteering was my saving grace, and I didn't even know it because it allowed me to build relationships. People saw the passion that I had when it came to just being in love with Memphis and want to create amazing things. So when I said I wanted to do my first Black Tie Gala, again, here we are. This is right after Memphis Black Restaurant Week. This is March 2016. And guys, I remember saying, my friends helped me do this initiative. We didn't know how big it was going to be at the time, but they're donating and volunteering all their time. I need to celebrate them. There needs to be a platform where it's more than 3 Black people getting an award. So that's what made me create, Top 40 under 40 or the Urban Elite Professionals. I didn't know how much it was going to cost to do it. I just knew it had to be fly. I wanted to create a gala. If Puffy did a gala in Memphis, that's what it needed to look like.
Can't stop,
Right.
won't stop.
Right.
Uh,
There needed to be an after party. It needed to start on time and be flawless. I had never created it, but I just, once again, the same way I had a vision to do a conference, I had a vision to do this Black Tie Gala. Put it out on social media. Again, social media is just an amazing platform. It's free. You want people to get to know you, fall in love with you, which, that's something I'll be talking to a friend of mine about very soon. But people just knew the passion I had for Memphis. So with me sharing that I wanted to create this event, I got calls from 2 very prominent people on a Saturday morning, people that don't work on Saturday morning. So the first one was Ekandayu Bandeli with Hattie Lou Theater. I had volunteered with Hattie Lou for a number of years. And he said, I see what you're doing. I want to be a title sponsor. I've been watching you. I love the passion you have in Memphis. I want to be a title sponsor. Second person that called me was J.W. Gibson. He said, my friend and I, we were thinking about doing something like this. We saw Nashville had an award ceremony like this. Mr. Gibson, I actually met him when I was in the Urban League. He was a very supportive of the young professional movement then. I created at the time a Dinner with the CEO series. I found his story very fascinating, invited him out, and he had just never been in such an intimate setting with young professionals. And the fact that I put him on a pedestal, like, dude, like, do you understand your DNA and what you're doing and the lives you're changing, even at our ages? So again, me pouring into him, not expecting anything in return, but when you're doing that for people and leaving lasting impressions, the money came to me, and that was the biggest shocker. Like, again, I just knew because of my faith in God and just, I was able to get through mixology and the Urban League conference. I knew it would work out, but as you guys can see, I don't just sit down and write out plans. I jump.
Just make it
I
happen.
Just go.
I
I
see.
just make it happen. But if you have, it's all about relationships. It's all about making yourself available, adding value to people's lives, and down the line, they can return the favors.
We'll make it happen. I want y'all to stay tuned to Sell or Fail, and we'll be back with Cynthia Daniels, and we're going to talk about how she adjusted during this COVID-19. She came out fighting again. I see you.
You're listening to Sell or Fail, and we'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back to Funky Politics, the hardest hitting political show on the planet. I believe that this country is still a great country, and we are going to do the best we possibly can. I've got a very deep expert, Paulo. Oh, you guys know this guy. He's been on the show before. Paulo Nunez Bueno. He is a transportation expert, a transportation policy expert, but this guy knows everything.
How do we put communities of color in the driver's seat when it comes to finding solutions to our climate crisis and making, environmental justice by creating solutions that focus on equity?
Hey, this is DC, host of Funky Politics. Anytime you want to catch the latest and the greatest, the hottest, let me tell you something, you want to make sure you listen to Funky Politics. So hit that notification below and you'll get our latest shows right here on Funky Politics. See you in a bit.
Kudzukian. Check out all your Kudzukian favorites now. Download the Kudzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Welcome back to Sell or Fail. We're here with Cynthia Daniels, CEO of Cynthia Daniels and Company. And when you do events like 40 Under 40, Memphis Black Restaurant Week, Elixir, you're sure to learn something. And so we learned a lot about your sales process, and it's helpful. I took quite a few notes.
Okay.
But did you always look at yourself as a salesperson?
You know, honestly, I didn't. I feel like people that are in sales are quote unquote sharks. You know, so I think
I'm not a shark.
You're not a shark, but I've learned how to accept a no.
Yeah.
You know, I know they say no, that just, you know, you're not getting yes yet, but I also believe in the timing of everything. So you may tell me no year 1, but year 3, now I'm coming back and you're wanting to be part of my brand. And I've actually had that to happen quite a few times because, again, you're talking about somebody that's creating these events for African Americans that have never been done. So I know there's a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
Like this young lady, I know she's done some great stuff before, but this event is not going to happen. It's going to get canceled. You know, there's so many negative stereotypes when it comes to people in my space in the city of Memphis. So it's still relationships. It's conversations with people. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to have a conversation.
Well, so 2 questions. Are you A type or B type? 1. And then the second question is, when did you know that you could actually do sales and that you didn't have to be a shark to do it?
Sure. I would say B type. You know, I'm not going to push you too hard. If you're not serious about, let me take this back. I think I'm coming from a different perspective because I'm creating these events myself. This event is my baby. And if you don't believe in the dream that I have, if you can't see how big this thing is going to be, you're not really worth my time. So that's really how I take it. You know, it's no love lost, no hard feelings. Don't feel bad. If you say no, it's cool. You know, but I'm not going to just keep coming at you and being persistent right away. I'll just lean back, give it another 2 years. Oh, Cynthia, I know. We can meet, no problem.
You know you got that good stuff, huh? The good events.
Yeah, I got that work for you.
That's right. So it's kind of been a blessing that it's worked out that way.
Okay. So you adjusted to these hard times. What have you been? You said what now? Oh, I thought you. Okay.
You know what? I'm thinking I'm on grind set. Because I didn't answer his other question. So I was trying to say I didn't answer his question. So, but you wouldn't know that because.
Yeah, but go ahead. So the moment you knew you were in sales, like the moment you knew you could do it without being a shark.
Sure. So the moment I knew I could do sales was the second year I was doing Top 40 Under 40 Urban League Professionals. Of course, I told you the magical story of how I got these 2 calls from big wigs in the city of Memphis to believe and support. But that didn't mean I was going to get that support year 2. Right. I found out in January, they were like, Cynthia, great event. That was kind of a one-time thing. Good luck. Oh, okay. So I had to very quickly figure out how to get in front of the right people to get those checks. And again, because I was able to get the first one done, it's very important to invest in, you know, somebody that's going to capture the moment, whatever you're doing, whether it's an event, whether it's just a big project that you're working on. You need to capture testimonies, you need to capture pictures, there needs to be some social media around it so you can take it to people and show them this great thing that you've done. The great thing about my event, because it was so unprecedented, that somebody gave out 40 awards to 40 Black people in Memphis, people had heard about it. So they were really interested in at least hearing from me. And I finally figured out this was my niche. I think year 2 of my business was when I discovered, okay, I can do sales and I have a quote unquote product that people are wanting to purchase from me in a sense.
So you came back and sold a workable product. Your first year was your trial. You
There you
got a
go.
product and then you sold the product. Okay, I see
Yes,
you.
there
I
you
see
go.
you. So how did you adjust though after that? Doing COVID-19 right now. Like my company, Massage on the Go, we
Right,
can't do groups right now. So I had to
right.
adjust to start selling masks and other things. So how did you adjust?
It's been a huge adjustment, Sam. You're talking about a planner that couldn't plan. March 15th was my very last event. It was the Soulful Food Truck Festival, the culmination to
I
Memphis
was
Black
there.
Restaurant Week.
Yeah.
You were there. Yeah, right. Another hustle. Look at him. And that next day, CDC said no more large gatherings.
Right.
So that was devastating for me. I went through every emotion possible, and I just figured, okay, for the next year, I'm just not going to make any money. My savings are intact, and as a planner that can't plan, there was just nothing I could do. So I thought, and
Mhm.
March was just a really hard month. And in April, I decided to create a webinar series just purely so I could have something to plan, but also give people a platform to talk about their expert subject matters. I wanted to give people some normalcy. So we did one during lunchtime, one after work, just kind of give everybody a routine because April was really hard for all of us.
Mhm.
Well, just because I volunteered and did something for the community, for my peers, I got calls from the Edge District. I got calls from Downtown Memphis Commission to say, hey, you do virtual events. We need to hire you to do some
Bam.
virtual events for
That's
us.
how you do it. Do it for
But
free, then charge them a fee, baby. That's how you do it.
it goes back to volunteering. And then again, I'm a person that loves to shop Black. So for Mother's Day, I wasn't able to go home to Atlanta. I bought my mom some stuff from some of my favorite businesses. One of them being Bubble Bistro, the other September Nail Salon. I posted the information on social media just to say, hey, I got this for Mother's Day. These could be some good ideas for you, trying to remind people about these companies, but they had never heard of it. So the post that I put out there went viral. And then it hit me, wait a minute. So the things that I take for granted that I know a lot of people still don't know exist in Memphis. So I thought, okay, I need to create a platform where people can shop Black intentionally. I look at a calendar, Juneteenth was right around the corner. And I said,
yeah.
okay, I'll just create a Juneteenth Shop Black online event. And that event has gone viral. I wanted 50 local businesses to be part of it. I have 100.
Look
I
at you.
have 50 out of Memphis, 50 out of 20 other cities, 2 international vendors, one out of Canada and one out of St. Croix. So it's
Wow.
been a huge blessing. And now this is something I will do every year.
Cynthia Daniels Worldwide.
What I'm telling you, world renowned, world famous, cover of Essence magazine. I'm speaking it. I see
I
it.
received that. I
Let's
received
get
that.
it. So what you did was you bagged up in the corner, you started peeking over the window, you came out with a new plan. I see it, and you used the
Absolutely.
internet. So you
You
something that's corona free. The internet can't catch corona. So
That's
I
right.
see it.
That's right. And we love to shop online. So why not do
Right.
it intentionally now?
That's dope.
good.
So let's finish out with any of your favorite or go-to books, preferably sales books. But if you're not reading those, then any books that power you through to get the job done.
I would have to say 10X by Grant Cardone. I read
Oh,
it
yeah.
every year. It's
Yeah.
just it's like the energy jumps off the pages to keep you going, to keep you motivated. So I would tell anybody to read 10X and live a 10X lifestyle. Do things 10 times bigger and better than the average person.
Okay. That's dope.
Sam, go ahead and close us out.
All right, Cynthia Daniels, thank you so much for being on here. We learned a lot. You caught it with a cold call. You talking about your relationships that you build. You went virtual during the coronavirus, and now you're going viral overseas. We love it. All right. Here on Sell or Fail podcast, we here to teach you how to sell, how to be resilient during these times. And we thank you again, Cynthia Daniels. Sell or Fail, and we out. And on this podcast, if you don't sell, you do what, William?
You fail.
That's all it is to it.
See you next episode.
All right. Well, Kurt, go.